Hey everybody, and welcome back to a Wheel of Time video. In this one, I, Vance, the Bard of the Red Hand, will be going through the trailer a little slower and breaking down some elements and talking about things that really stuck out to me. It's not going to be comprehensive. I'm going to leave that to Lauren from Unraveling the Pattern to get it really comprehensive. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this trailer and see what we can see. Okay, ready. 3, 2, 1.
Be strong.
Right off the bat, one of the things that really got me was Egwene getting pushed off this cliff at the beginning into the river by Nynaeve, and that cemented what their relationship's going to be like in the show for me. I hope that everyone is as excited about their dynamic as I am, because I think with Egwene being aged up, all the characters actually aged up. In general, the dynamic's going to be a little bit different, right? They may be more friendly with each other rather than in this necessarily like master-apprentice style relationship they had. So yeah, I'm super excited to see them be maybe closer to friends than, what we got in the books. Whereas Nynaeve, she might still have that like big sister mentality, but they're older. So they're not going to be as young. She's not going to feel she needs to shepherd them as much. Obviously, we still want that. That's a core part of Nynaeve's character. But I hope that it's a little dialed back in the overbearing nature of the relationship between her and the other kids. Young adults. Okay, so one thing that a lot of folks didn't necessarily point out back when we got the Wine Spring Inn drop, close to, it's been almost a year at this point, but we did point out that it's not the only tiled or shingled roof in the Two Rivers. As we can see, all the other houses don't necessarily have thatch. They do have wooden shingles. However, I'm willing to bet it's the only fully stonework building within the Two Rivers. You can clearly see that this inn is made of stone, not wood, as some of the other structures around it are. So that's a neat little point. I believe it was Marcel, back when we got the EW pictures dropped, brought up that they might be trying to play up some of the class dynamics within Emmonsfield. Not that there's like hardcore like proletariat bourgeois, but that there is maybe a class divide between some of the Emmonsfielders, which could drive maybe some of the interpersonal relationship strife that we will see throughout the series. Who knows?
Wheel of Time turns.
Immediately we get in, we see Rand, Matt, and Perrin sitting in the wine spring. Matt already has dice, by the way, which was pointed out by Daniel Green, I think, so that's really neat foreshadowing. I like that we get to see all the boys here smiling, laughing, having a good time over a drink. This is really something we didn't get to see very much within the books, outside of like the Eye of the World, because they basically just immediately are thrown into it and constantly, and especially in the early books, Jordan has this habit of the group is together, they split, they come back together for the climax, they split again at the next book. So we never really get to see these dynamics at play. We're kind of told about them, and there are a couple of instances where we see them, but a lot of that's left to reader inference as opposed to being shown it necessarily on the page. So I'm happy that in the show, the team has decided to give us this, this relationship, and I hope that it comes across a lot more clearly than it did in the books, because it does take folks sometimes a few reads to be like, oh, well, they're, this is how their friendship dynamic actually works. Obviously on a first read, you just take it at face value, but when you get in and you read deeper, you understand how things work and how they were going before everything went down. Ooh, there's Egwene walking in and Rand with that smile, Nynaeve smiling. Here's the horses. So we're going to get a shot of them riding down this river. This is one of the EW photos, I believe, where Rosin... Was it EW? Or was it No, maybe it's TV Guide. Rosamund on Aldib. Yeah, it's TV Guide, where she was running on the sand here. So, although that might be pebbles looking at it now. But yeah, pretty good shot. I mean, obviously they're just writing, so not much to infer. All right, so a lot of folks are like, is this Lews Therin? Who is this? And it's pretty much been well decided that this is Peter Franzen's character, Stepen, Kareen or Karenna, Nagashi's warder. Karenna dies in New Spring. Book readers, we know this. Karenna's going to die in Season 1. We basically see it happen in this trailer, by the way. In case you don't catch it, there he is kissing her ring. Interesting notes, which we'll get to about Stepen a little later in the trailer. So let's just move on from here right now. But this is not Lews Therin. This is Stepen. You know, he's not a white cloak either. I initially thought he might have been a white cloak, but after I saw the ring he was kissing, I knew I was wrong, but I just didn't fix it in my reaction video.
Please.
All right, Egwene coming up with the paint of all colors. So she's got the Amerlin stole already. This is a fantastic bit of foreshadowing. I'm in love with it. Any of you who've been following me on Twitter, by the way, have known that I am putting Egwene and Swan's pictures to Flame of Tarvalin, a song by an Austrian symphonic metal band called Dragony. You guys should go listen to that song. I covered it in my heavy metal reviews as well. It is a fucking banger. You've got to go listen to it. If you are a Wheel of Time fan, if you are an Egwene fan, for sure, this is your power anthem. You've got to go listen to this song. It's phenomenal. Yeah, there's a lot in this picture. This is maybe her testing, or maybe she's having a dream, because I don't think anyone really talked about this, but Egwene's a dreamer. Don't forget, she has slightly prophetic dreams, so perhaps she's dreaming she fell into this pool and then she swims up, and she's got all the colors, obviously paint on her. So yeah, this could be a dream after Moiraine tells her that she has the ability to channel inside of her. So just another little interesting point before I move on. The technique they're using here is actually how you paint swirl guitars, which for any of my guitar players out there, especially Ibanez players, I know you're into it because of Steve I. So you take the paints, you mix them in a barrel, and you put the body on a stick, and you just stick it down in there and pull it back up real slow, and you get that nice cool swirl. So this is that same paint technique. That's just a little interesting bit of trivia there for anyone who didn't know that.
Become legend.
Yep, Tarvalon Street, Tarvalon. All right, so there's some contention about the image of Moiraine that was released the other day, whether or not she's looking at North Harbor or South Harbor. So if you look at this image and this dome right here, and I have to thank Taint of Taim in the Dusty Wheel server for this one, but he said this dome right here and Dragon Mount over there, that makes that the west, and this dome is on the east. So from this face of the tower is South Harbor, would technically be correct, and on the other side would be North Harbor. We know that from the picture of Moiraine looking, that she is looking in a direction that goes, believe it was this way. So we'll pull that picture up here later and take a look at it just to try to infer that. But if this is the case, then the Ogier Grove is over here somewhere, but I don't see it. So we'll have to we'll go back for a Tarvalin breakdown. That's a whole video in and of itself. Maybe I won't cover that here, but yeah, just a little interesting note that you look at this dome, which is different from this one if you look at the pictures, and then Dragon Mount over here, that makes that the west. So therefore, this is South Harbor, that is North Harbor. We got Rosamund as Moiraine coming in. Fucking stunning. Love it. It's amazing. All right, Egwene fighting the river and then surrendering to it. That's a nice little nod to Sidar. I think pretty much everyone caught on to that. Not much more to add here. It's just a nice visual.
Well, there are different names for it.
All right, in the tower. Now, this is interesting because we really get to see all of the Ajas represented. So it looks like starting from my, 7 o'clock, which is the red Aja here. Then we go up, it looks like we've got the gray Aja, the yellow Aja, the blue Aja, the white Aja, the brown Aja, and the green Aja over here. Obviously, we have Lyanna over here, who is in her keeper's garb, which appears to just be a non-colored dress. So, yeah, this is interesting. We've got the 3 Aes Sedai who were around when Logain escaped, and then Kareen Nagashi was killed, along with the other 3 Red Sisters and 2 Green Sisters who were part of it. I assume that this delegation of folks are getting a talking down to by Swan, as is probably mandated by Tower Customs. Who knows, really. But it's interesting. I like the representations of the different cultures' clothing, because it looks like everyone's dressed in a manner of where they may come from. Some folks thought this gray sister over here was an Aiel, but she could very well be from maybe, I don't know, Tanchico, Ebudar. Like, we don't know what they're doing for clothing styles in places. I don't see any of these, anything that sticks out to me as extremely obvious of where anyone could be. The only one we know for sure right now, are these 3. So we've got Alana, Moraine, and Leandra, and we know where they're all from, but it's a little hard to infer exactly where all of these other styles of dress come from, because there are multiple nations. I am willing to bet that this lady back here with the epic shoulder pads is probably from Shinar, because that mirrors Lan's warder outfit, and this might be for the same for the brown sister here, because he has those kind of squared shoulders on his. Obviously, now he was raised in Shinar, but he is Malkiri, so maybe and Malkiri was had a direct border with Shinar, so there would be a little bit of cross-cultural pollination there with the styles of dress and cultures. So it's possible she could be from Shinar, or she could be from another Borderlands nation, but I'm willing to bet that square shoulder pads are going to represent Borderlanders throughout the series. We'll wait and see if that theory holds true.
But it's
Moving on, we've got this epic shot of Swan here, and I've just got to say, Sophie Okonedo is perfect for this role. She has all of the gravitas required to play the Amerlin seat. I like what they did with the dress here. It is very ornate. It's befitting of someone of her station, who is arguably the single most powerful person in the world. All of the Aja colors are represented on the interior of the dress, so she's not wearing a stole around her shoulders necessarily, but it is actually sewn into this outfit. Maybe she does have a stole that she'll wear with another style of dress, but for this one in particular, this is what it is. Call out interesting are the tattoos, which some folks said were representative of a Croatian mother goddess. I don't know about that. That's just what I heard, so I'm repeating that here. But I find it interesting that Sophie, that Swan is going to have tattoos. I think it makes sense given she's a fisherman's daughter. And she's, from Tyr, and Tyr does a lot of trading with sea folk. So perhaps maybe instead of jewelry with sea folk, they'll go with tattoos, and maybe Swan has sea folk heritage, or they're mixing Tyr and the sea folk together. There's a lot to unpack with all that, but these are just some initial thoughts and things that I've had and that I've read from other folks around. So it's very interesting. I can't wait to really get into it when the series drops. I'm super excited. All right, we got Moraine being healed here by Kareen, so that's before she dies. This must be the reason why they end up meeting with the Logain delegation, or possibly they ran into them and then were attacked by Dragonsworn. Logain's Dragonsworn, not the dragon's Dragonsworn. And Moraine is injured, maybe in a sneak attack or something. We're not sure, but yeah, it's super interesting. Moving on from that, we get Emond's Field, or the Two Rivers. We're not sure exactly how they're going to designate it, but we get this shot of the village green with all of Moraine's weaves of power here. She's about to summon the lightning. We can see the fire, the damage. There's bodies everywhere. So yeah, pretty intense stuff. Winter Night is going to be epic and hopefully appropriately terrifying and thrilling. So not much more to add to that. This is just pretty badass.
And women who can touch.
All right, we get a shot of Liandrin with her fellow Red Sisters. I like the way they got Kate Fleetwood in this hairstyle here. And I'm assuming, like, on the sides here, maybe her hair's not necessarily braided, but definitely there's another scene where she's sitting down. You can see the braids in her hair. So, another point, I always forget Liandrin's, like, a honey blonde. I always picture her as brunette when I read the books, but I know she's a blonde. Like, it's talked about. But just for whatever reason, in my mind's eye, that's how I picture her. It's weird, like, for a long time I pictured Egwene as blonde, even though she has brown hair. It's just the way the interior of my mind's eye works. Like, when I'm actively reading and then it's generating the picture in my head, I'm like, have very little control unless I stop and very intently form the image. And that, kind of, you got to stop reading to do that, to think about it and process it and then get going. So it sometimes defeats the purpose of reading for enjoyment. But yeah, that's just the way my mind's eyes always worked. Hair colors are nebulous and not consistent either, I will point out. So yeah, that's just me. Interesting with these other Red Sisters, I'm wondering if they are going to be part of Liandrin's Dark Friend group, or if possibly these are some of the other Red Sisters that we meet throughout the series. Alright, we got that picture of that nice little scene of Lyanna stomping the staff down. She's looking appropriately perturbed, probably because someone was speaking out of turn or something like that. Maybe she's even calling the Hall to order. Jennifer Chan Garcia is just going to kill this role. We've said this on social media before, but every time she posts a picture of her doing something badass, we're just like, how does someone like this exist? She's just so cool, and she's really going to, I think, redefine this role for a lot of folks, because while Lyanna did have some large sections of the book, she's ultimately a side character, and she's not thought about very much.
We protect the world.
Moving on. Now we're back to the scene with Alana and all the warders. Land in front of Nynaeve there. She stops the arrows, basically airbending, which I'm fine with. I think that's going to give us a good example of the differences between the Aes Sedai and the Aiel Wise Ones when they meet, because the Wise Ones don't really use motions when they channel, but all of the Aes Sedai do, due to how they're trained. We also see Stepen here with two axes, and you can see they're two, like, kind of each side of the axe is a half moon, so it's like a full moon axe, I guess. I don't know, but he's got two axes, so I know a lot of folks are out there wondering if maybe they've merged Elyas into Stepen here, and he will give Perrin the axe, and they will have the Perrin-Elyas relationship. So, funny note, Steppenwolf, if any of y'all know it, German for, I forget exactly the translation, but it's a wolf. And yeah, also every time I think about Steppenwolf, also the DC Comics villain, but every time I hear the name Steppenwolf, I just think of Magic Carpet Ride from the band. So yeah, but Stepen here might fill the role of Elyas. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but that's a pretty fun theory. And again, just look at Lan and Nynaeve there. Perfect. Flawless. Alright, shot of Tar Valon. So yeah, if we look here, so this is the second dome I was talking about right there, and then on the right side you've got that more round dome. So if you follow this shot over to the left of how we're looking at it, Dragon Mount should be over there, which would make that the west, which means the round dome faces the east, which means this is North Harbor that we're looking at, and that would make that where Moraine is looking out of in the image that we got, possibly. If so, and this is the Ogier Grove down here, then they've kind of changed the geography of the island, but that's not like a huge deal. clearly they changed it because the island is not nearly as big as it was in the books. This is a significantly smaller Tarvalon island. I think it's fine. In the books, it's the size of Manhattan and has not a similar population density to modern Manhattan, but it is a densely populated island. It's like completely developed, and that's, that's a little hard to buy, I think. Given how low the population density is of the Westlands in general, it's just a little hard to buy. Alright, we got Rand and Matt here looking back at Shadar Logoth. They have crossed the river and they're fleeing into the mountains. Sadly, that means no Bail Domon. We are not getting him or any of his aged grandmother in this season. Sorry, folks. Rand shooting a bow and a nice little sweater. Matt with a dagger. My Shadar is basically a creeping shadow, which makes me think of Metallica's Creeping Death. So, Shadar Logoth is going to be metal as hell, and I'm here for it. This is going to be so fucking scary. I'm here for it. All right, we got Egwene and Perrin, so we are keeping up with the correct splits of the group from the Eye of the World. And this is the wall, and we saw that the river also butted up against the wall. So this might be the "Are you ready?" No, and then they jump scene. So from the initial teaser we got a long time ago. Alright, there's the Aiel in the cage. We got a wolf and Perrin. Rand and Egwene sexy times. That's going to be kind of fun. This is Matt and Perrin here, actually, and maybe this is Shadar Logoth. It looks like a temple. This looks like the church they shot the Shadar Logoth scenes in. So, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're just bored before they go get the dagger. Maybe they're talking about how Matt already stole the dagger. Or Perrin's telling Matt he can talk to wolves already. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Looks good. All right, we've got Michael Mickelhatton as Tam Althor. Television's worst dad of all time is also now going to play television's best dad of all time. I'm here for it. I love all of the speech he gives throughout the thing and how they just point it like with scenes on specific words. So it's just phenomenal. Whoever put this trailer together did a phenomenal job. The dark one is coming. Myrddraal, by the way. I'm so happy with the Myrddraal, and then all these Trollocs. Looks like we got Birdbeak Trollocs, we got Boartusk Trollocs, all horny Trollocs around from what I can see. So I'm very happy with it. Rand and Matt running, and then we've got some Dragonsworn attacking, and Logain. Here we see Leandrin and Karina Nagashi. Probably holding Logain's shield before he busts it. I think the theory is that maybe Leandrin intentionally lets up off the shield so he can escape to try to kill some of the folks around. We saw Karina go right into the pillar there, which is probably how she dies. Moving on, we have Nynaeve in the woods looking scared. I'm sure Lan's going to come and save her. Moraine entering the tower, just looking like the fucking badass she is.
Battle is coming.
Yep, Trollocs here, a little out of focus. Lan looking good. By the way, in keeping with what we've all said, me and Lesbian Nerdy and Wheel of Time Theory, about Lan's hanbok inspiration, these striped colors are also a very common feature on Korean hanboks. So you can go look at pictures of sleeves with a lot of stripes on the cuffs of sleeves and stuff like that. So, yep. Moving on. Dragonsworn. Alright, this is the one I want to get to. You can clearly see Stepen with these two axes. He is lunging at Logain. This is where I assume Karina or Karine is dead. She's there on the floor. You can see her. And Stepen has just gone into a rage. He's going to try to kill Logain while he's shielded here. And it looks like Moraine is maybe weaving air to stop him. Pointed out by Andrew of Black Tower Podcast, you can see some black, almost living material behind Logain here. That's theorized to be the taint, although I think it could possibly be, if they're keeping with like a black-white theme for male-female sides of the true source, maybe Sidar is white and Sidene is black. We don't know. If they are using that color cue and the taint is black, that could explain why maybe in the Age of Legends folks didn't know it was tainted right away, because if channelers can see the flows and they see them just as black-white colors, like they're not going to color code the elements, then that would definitely give some reason as to why folks in the Age of Legends would not have been able to tell right away that Sidene had been tainted by the Dark One. Neat touches. It's either the taint or Sidene. I'm here for either of these options. It's a fantastic detail. But yeah, back to the axes. So Peter Franzen as Stepen here, Rage. We can see that these axes essentially mirror what Perrin uses. Obviously, they're double-sided instead of single-sided, and that's a minor detail. I'm here for it if he is going to be Elyas. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, we got Lan fighting Trollocs. We got him riding up to the Waygate. By the way, I confirmed yesterday that Loial is here, because we got Matt, Rand, Nynaeve, and Lan riding up to meet Perrin, Moiraine, Loial, and Egwene on horseback. So there's Loial right there. So if you look at Nynaeve right here, she's now obscuring Perrin. Then you've got Egwene, Loial, and you've got Moiraine and Haldeeb. However, pointed out by the innkeeper last night on Twitter, there's another person standing next to Loial, so we don't know who that is. Theories range from Min to possibly Pat and Fane. We'll just have to wait and see.
There's no turning back.
Here, draw on horseback. Look at that. I want to be friends with this dude and start a black metal band. Like, no kidding. This is black metal nightmares come to life, and I'm here for it. That is a great mirror draw. I'm a little peeved about how far up, like that the teeth are almost fully circular in the maw, but it's whatever at this point. Trollocs and Lan and Rain fighting. I love how they are so in sync here, and then we get the fully finished version of the scene of the Moiraine reveal. So we go into the title with this epic sting from Lornbalf. Yeah, that's basically it for everything I wanted to talk about. I kind of did it here sequentially, just because I feel like that helps me flow a little bit better for this style of video. If you liked it, let me know down in the comments. Tons of time to record this today, and it's just mostly random thoughts and observations, but if you like this video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get more Wheel of Time content from me. Consider subscribing to my Patreon. All the support that I get over there really helps the channel grow and helps me be able to justify dedicating more time to create content. I do want to call out my high-tier patrons over there, Unraveling the Pattern and Darius Sadai. I really appreciate you both. And since I only have 4 patrons, I'll also call out the Wheel Reads and Amy's Far Strider. Y'all are all awesome and definitely help me, get up to get some content out for this channel, and I'm just so pumped that you all appreciate what I do over here and support me. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at RedHandBard or the Bard of the Red Hand. I'm going to go ahead and I will see y'all later.